Hi everyone, Pat here. Welcome to this week's Charting from Blank episode. Been a couple weeks since I have released an episode since I was on holiday, and then also I just completely forgot to do an episode the other week. So yeah, we're bringing this series back, and it's going to be a weekly series again, reoccurring every week. This series has a lot of positive feedback. I think it's a great series for you to one, get an outlook on a coin that whatever I talk about, we get a good outlook, and we look at potential spot buys and trade ideas for that coin. And two, it's a good way to directly see how I chart something, and also how you can get an outlook a similar way to I do on a coin. So a lot of the styles of trading I'll use in these episodes are, you know, ones that I use in my day-to-day trading and my day-to-day analyzing. So we're going to be looking at sort of like standard support and resistance areas, high volume node areas, a point of controls, and then we'll look at some EMAs as well to give us a rough idea of the trend. Probably take a look at the BTC pair towards the end of the video as well, although BTC pairs with dominance rising at the moment are not something that I find massively accurate. So let's get into it. We're going to start on a bit of a higher time frame today. We're going to look at the 3-month chart, so the quarterly chart. I think this can be quite beneficial to coin like AAVE that's been around, you know, since 2020. We got a decent amount of history to work with. So, you know, the 12-month, I mean, pretty interesting close on the 12-month. Back in January, we had the highest yearly close for AAVE, and you know, if we look at this sort of support area, like this 250 area is quite important, because that was where the yearly close back in 2021, and you know, we sort of rolled from there, and now we broke this yearly close last year, and now potentially holding above it. So obviously this is a yearly close, so a lot to play for, but it might be quite interesting if we go into sort of 2026 and AAVE is continuing to trade above 250. That could be a very positive place for it to hold on to it. Going down to the quarterly, you know, we'll get rid of that 250 area. We just have to keep that 255 level in mind going into the yearly close. You know, still got 6 months to go until then. I think, you know, going into Q4, if we start to get a positive Q4, then that 250 area becomes more interesting. I think as we move into Q4 this year, this is where I think altcoins can really perform. With Bitcoin making a strong breakout, altcoins performing in Q4, we should be looking at these coins that have partnerships or at least ties to the likes of Trump and World Liberty Finance. We know that World Liberty Finance was a buyer of AAVE over the past year, since the inauguration, or just prior to the inauguration of World Liberty Finance were buying AAVE. So this can be a good trigger to keep an eye on these coins that have had some sort of connection with Trump as we move into those more bullish months. So the quarterly, not too much to comment on. Clearly we have a big level of resistance up here, right, towards this 300 area. That was a big level for price back in 2021, and then also going into 2024, 2025, we can see this whole area has also been a difficult place for AAVE to overcome. So 380, we're going to leave that on the chart just because it's a significant place for price right now. Definitely got some support as well at 155, right? Clearly there's some support from AAVE here. We want to highlight this whole area. We can see support back in 2021, 2022, and then, you know, sort of deviated on there and reclaimed. So that's quite a nice place for AAVE to continue to hold 150. You know, as we move into the monthly now, same sort of area down here. Yeah, 150 looks like a important place for AAVE to hold overall. I think maybe if we got some sort of pullback over the next month or a couple of weeks into 150s, that could be a good place to potentially pick up some fresh AAVE spot. I think from a higher time frame standpoint, continuing to hold above 160 on the monthly is pretty important for AAVE. I think the sort of deviation back under there could be bearish, and we get some bearish structure probably targeting these lows. So from a bullish standpoint, any retest back towards sort of like 150s looks like a good place for AAVE over the next couple of months to be a buyer on spot. Taking a look at the weekly, I mean, we can still see even on the weekly, on the monthly, how this quarterly level has been impactful for price. Now we get onto the daily, we're going to take a look at the volume profile. I'm going to mark a bit of an edge there. And also what we have within this support as well is a high volume node box. So what we can see here on the right is this high volume node point of control area. What we have is confirmation that there's a lot of activity being done within this support and resistance area, which a lot of the time, once we break something and we come back to retest it, I like to look at a entry around there. So yeah, that sort of lines up with my theory that If we can get a pullback in anywhere from 170 down to 150, that should be a nice place to buy AAVE spot over the next couple of months. That would be a 50%, 40-50% move down from the highs, which of course is really important. The next level of interest under there for me really is back down towards the 80, as I said. Failing to hold probably 150, you'd see AAVE roll over back down towards this high volume node POC. And a lot of the time you find these high volume node POCs are kind of like magnets in the market. You find that price draws to these high volume node areas a lot, especially if it moves from one to the other. In which case, if we fail to hold this high volume node POC, I think we could see a move back down towards this one at 85. So overall, a pretty important place for AAVE to hold. We got that deviation reclaim. We sort of sell off over the next couple of weeks into July, August, and look for a long or a spot position on AAVE, targeting 400 and maybe even new all-time highs if we get a really nice bullish altcoin season. Also going to mark a clear level of resistance here. At 270s on the weekly. Clearly we can see this weekly area. This weekly is a problem for AAVE. It goes all the way back again to 2021. Clearly a difficult place of price action for AAVE. And I think as long as we're stuck below 270, we should see a pullback back down to sort of 160s areas. So this could be a potential trade for us to take. I'm going to keep an eye on the lower time frame. We're going to take a look at the lower time frame now and see if we can potentially find a short where we can take a reversal over the next couple of weeks into 160 to buy spot and then a leg up from there. I think that seems like the best play right now. But looking at the daily, this looks like a pretty nice toppy structure for me. Overall, what we have is a break of structure, standard lower low been put in here, right? After prices trading up, high highs, high lows, high highs, high lows, high highs, high lows, high high, and then we've now broken this structure. So along with that, we have this sort of head and shoulders, or what I like to call an over under. Good price action here for a top. I think AAVE looks good for a move lower from here. I think this looks like a local top to me, and could be making its way down towards that 160 area, where I think we should become a spot buyer for AAVE for a mid to long term position. I'm going into Q4 and Q1 2026. So now we have that in mind, I would like to see some sort of activity around this 270 region, like a sweep above here, a deviation, and some sort of break of structure to give me a trigger for a short. I think if we can get a good trigger for a short into 270s on AAVE, we can look for a short invalidation above here and move down towards like 170 over the next few weeks, like through July into August. I think AAVE could, do something along the lines of this. Break up, give us the break of structure, deviation, and then sort of bleeds into July, August before forming some sort of bottom, and then legging up going into August and September. I think that seems like a really nice scenario. Backfill some of this imbalance that was made on the move up. So to finalize a plan here, I'm looking for something like this on AAVE. Like I said, a bit of a pullback over the next few weeks into summer. Ideally, we can get short into this 270 region. I think this looks like a really positive place for a position and at least an eye for a potential setup up there. Look for a move down over the next few weeks into 170s where we can look at buying spot for the midterm. I think again this is a really nice place to buy spot on AAVE. You could even leave some limits down there and with an invalidation under 130s. I think that looks good. Overall, that would pretty much sum it up for today's Charting from Blank episode. I hope this was useful to you and you find it handy to you in your own methods of trading. If you do have any requests of charts that you would like to see in these Charting from Blank episodes, then please let me know in the comments. Obviously leave a like and subscribe if you enjoyed, and I will see you guys for next week's episode. Bye bye.